Is getting an official diagnosis for your autoimmune condition really the only way to get better? That is what I'm going to talk about today, because I believe that there is another way. And my name is Anindita. I'm a functional medicine certified health coach and a practitioner, and I help women with undiagnosed autoimmune conditions reduce their symptoms using a functional medicine approach by tuning into their body's wisdom. Right? So, what I want to ask you is that, do you see people getting better just because they get a diagnosis that they have been waiting for? Maybe they have been waiting for, they've been going from doctor to doctor, different experts for days, months, even years, and finally they got a diagnosis and they got better. Or did you even wait? If your child was sick, did you wait for your child's condition to become worse before you try to find out what was going on, even as you try to reach your doctor, right? Sometimes there can be a delay in that, but did you really wait for your child to become sicker and sicker, or did you try to find a way to help your child in the interim, right? Even as you were trying to reach your child's doctor. So then why are you waiting for a diagnosis for your condition before you start taking any action whatsoever, before you start trying to figure out a way to help yourself and take charge of your health? And this does not mean, I'm not implying in any manner that you should not be looking for a diagnosis, or you should not be going to your doctor or figuring out a medication or a treatment, because that's certainly necessary for most of the complex chronic diseases, including autoimmune conditions. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to continue waiting to get an official diagnosis to start getting better, to start figuring out what's really going on, because you know that you will keep getting sicker and sicker even as you keep waiting, because the disease keeps progressing, right? That's typically what you will see around you. I don't think you will find anybody who has gotten better simply by waiting, because that's not how chronic diseases work. Once you're on the autoimmune spectrum, once your body has produced antibodies, and this is typically the way that is by having a positive ANA result. That's how you know. You may not know which autoimmune disease you have, but you certainly know that you most likely have one, or maybe will have one in the future, if not right now. But you don't need to keep waiting for that to happen so that you keep getting sicker and finally get a diagnosis. Because I want to ask you this: do you really want to keep thinking that you need to wait to get a confirmed diagnosis before you can start making changes in your lifestyle or diet, or can you actually start doing that today, right? And you know that if you actually keep waiting for a diagnosis, if you're dealing with an autoimmune condition, then symptoms typically become more and more intense. So whether it's chronic pain, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's a severity, whether it's a fatigue, because pain and fatigue are the two most common symptoms, and that tends to become worse and worse and worse as we keep waiting, and many people end up waiting for years for that. So what do people who have successfully reversed their disease progression, reverse their symptoms, reduce their symptoms, maybe it's become completely completely manageable and negligible, what have they done? So people like Dr. Amy Myers, who successfully reversed her Graves' disease, people like Dr. Susan Bloom for Hashimoto's disease, Dr. Terry Walls for multiple sclerosis, for so there are multiple people, and many others, countless other people who have successfully reversed their autoimmune disease, successfully reversed their chronic disease. Dr. Amy Myers, Dr. Terry Walls, these are Dr. Susan Bloom. These are just some of the people that we tend to know about, hear about, because they've written books about their own conditions and how they have reversed their disease progression. But there are countless other people who have also done the same, and they learn the hard way, which is why they have been sharing what has worked for them, and which is why I am sharing what is what is going to work for you as well. And they learn the hard way that waiting was not the answer, right? Waiting to get all the answers as to why they are sick, and when what I mean by answers is actually an official diagnosis, was actually not the answer, right? Taking charge of their body's healing process, changing their diet, changing their lifestyle, supporting their body's healing process is what helped them to reverse. Was it easy? Certainly not. Did it happen instantly? Of course not, because these kind of things take years, if not decades. So let me ask you that if you knew that, if you knew this, that you do not have to wait for all the things to fall into place, in this case to get a diagnosis before, if you can get your life, health and body on track, would you not try that? Right? Would you not put in the effort and the time to find out why your immune system is behaving this way and see how you can bring it back to balance, right? This is exactly what I actually help my clients who are women with undiagnosed autoimmune conditions. I help them to reverse their symptoms even as they are waiting for a diagnosis. And as I mentioned, that this is not an either or approach where they don't really look for all the answers. They of course also look for a diagnosis. They will need certain medications and treatments to stem further tissue damage, but they certainly do not need to keep waiting to get sicker and sicker while they do that, because they learn to, and how do they do this? They learn to use their body as their guide. They start by listening to the body. They start by paying attention to the messages that their body is giving them every single day. This is something that we know since we were kids. We were naturally tuned into our body. We knew when we were hungry, we knew when we were sleepy, when we were tired, and we used to actually go according to what our body needed from us, whether it was a nap or whether it was food or anything else for that matter. But what happens is that as we grow into adults, we typically become more and more disconnected. In a way, we are constantly living in our heads, and we are completely disconnected from neck down. And this can actually get amplified when we are already dealing with a complex chronic disease, because it can feel that our health, life and body, all three are out of control, right? So rather than continuing to do this, what I would like to invite you is to try a different approach, to try tuning into what your body is trying to tell you on a daily basis, what the messages that it's trying to send to you in many different ways. We say that symptoms are a gift in functional medicine. A headache is a blessing simply because it tells us that something wrong. Maybe we need to focus on why is it that we have a headache, right? And it's similarly with any kind of symptoms. And even if you're facing multiple symptoms, there is a way to figure out what's going on. What are the buckets of symptoms? What do they tell us? Which are the ones that we need to prioritize and take care of, right? So that's what functional medicine practitioners and health coaches like myself are trained to do, and that's exactly what I do in my practice. So instead of being at war with your body, you can learn you can actually figure out what your body needs from you in terms of support. So you can start making those changes. You can start using food as medicine. You can reduce the toxins in your environment. You can create a healing environment where your immune system and your body feel safe, and can start the repair work that is necessary. And as you start doing this, you will find that your symptoms actually start improving. The intensity starts reducing, the number of symptoms start reducing. So you're on the right track, right? Your body will actually tell you all of that. So it's a beautiful way to start the healing process even as you wait for a diagnosis. And as I mentioned, it's not one or the other approach. Sometimes we need medications, we need treatments. At the same time, we certainly do not need to keep waiting for months, years and decades and keep getting sicker before we start doing something, before we get our lives back on track, our health back on track and our body in control, right? So I have a couple of slots which are available in my coaching program right now. I help women with undiagnosed autoimmune conditions reverse their symptoms by using their body as a guide, using a functional medicine approach. So if you would like to know more about how I can help you, DM me with the word HEAL, HEAL, and then we can sort of have a chat about that.